The day my roommate asked me how her new dress looked, I forgot how to be a normal man. I had a fork halfway to my mouth, standing in our tiny kitchen at 2 in the afternoon, eating leftover lo mein straight from the container like a divorced raccoon, when Autumn Reed stepped out of the hallway barefoot and said, "Be honest." I looked up, and then I just stopped. The dress was navy blue, simple at first glance, the kind of thing that didn't beg for attention because it already knew it had it. Thin straps, soft fabric, a slit that appeared when she moved and vanished when she stood still. Her hair was pinned up messily, a few curls loose at her neck, and she had one hand on the wall like she wasn't sure if she wanted approval or a fight. Autumn was my roommate. That was the rule I repeated to myself like a prayer and a warning. Roommate, not girlfriend, not almost. Not the woman whose laugh I'd started recognizing from 2 rooms away like it belonged to me. I'm Miles Carter, 25, freelance web designer, occasional overthinker, full-time idiot when faced with a beautiful woman in my kitchen asking for honesty. Autumn was 24, a junior events coordinator at a downtown hotel, and she had lived across the hall from me for 9 months. Technically, we shared a lease. Emotionally, we shared a very dangerous amount of eye contact. "Well?" she asked. I still hadn't answered. Her mouth twitched. "Oh," she said softly. "That bad?" "No," I said too fast. "Not bad. Convincing. It's good." "Good? Really good." Her eyebrow lifted. "You stare at the toaster longer than that when it burns one bagel." I set the fork down because apparently I couldn't be trusted with utensils. "I'm trying to choose words that won't get me evicted." Autumn's smile grew slow and wicked. Then she turned once, not like a model, more like a woman testing her own courage, and the dress followed her body in a way that made the apartment feel smaller. "Want a better look?" she asked. If you've ever had your whole life divide into before and after a sentence, then you know what happened to me. I forgot about the lo mein. I forgot about my deadline. I forgot that we had a rent agreement, a chore chart, and a mutual understanding that neither of us would make the apartment weird. Because the apartment had been weird for months. It started small. Autumn stealing my hoodies during movie nights and pretending she thought they were communal property. Me learning how she liked her coffee, 1 sugar, too much cream. "Don't judge me, Miles, life is hard." Her leaving sticky notes on my laptop that said things like, "Your plants are begging for death and me again. Your basil has passed away. Please notify next of kin." I knew she hated elevators, but took them anyway because stairs made her late. I knew she sang under her breath when she cooked, usually the wrong lyrics with total confidence. I knew she had a scar on her left thumb from trying to open a bottle of wine with a steak knife in college, which she described as a character-building evening. And I knew I was getting attached. That was the problem. I'd moved into that apartment after my last relationship ended with my ex telling me I was easy to live with but hard to reach. I hated how accurate that was. I was good at paying bills, fixing loose cabinet handles, remembering trash day. I was less good at telling someone they mattered before they got tired of guessing. Autumn was the opposite of guesswork. She filled rooms. She asked direct questions. She noticed everything, especially when I was lying, so when she stood in front of me in that dress, smirking like she had just caught me committing a felony with my eyes, I did what any emotionally mature adult man would do. I looked at the refrigerator. She laughed. "Miles." "What?" "My face is up here." "I know where your face is." "Do you?" "Unfortunately, yes." "Unfortunately?" "I mean, fortunately." I rubbed the back of my neck. "See, this is why men used to write letters. More editing." She stepped closer. Not much. Just enough that I could smell her perfume. Something warm, vanilla maybe, mixed with the clean scent of her shampoo. Her shoulder brushed the edge of the counter. The sunlight from the kitchen window caught the tiny gold chain at her collarbone. "Relax," she said. "I'm not setting a trap." That sounds exactly like something a trap would say. Her eyes softened, and for a second the teasing fell away. "I have that hotel gala tonight," she said. "The one my boss keeps calling career shaping, which is corporate for wear uncomfortable shoes and pretend rich people are fascinating." I remember. "Of course you do." She smiled like that pleased her more than it should have. I need to look like I belong there. You do. The answer came out before I could make it casual. Autumn blinked. I didn't look away this time. You do, I said again, quieter. You always do, even when you think you're faking it. Something changed in her expression then. Not dramatic. Not movie music dramatic. Just a small stillness, like my words had landed somewhere she didn't let many people touch. She glanced down, smoothing a hand over the fabric at her waist. I wasn't asking for a motivational poster, Carter. I charge extra for those. Her laugh came back, but it was softer now. Then she turned slightly and pointed over her shoulder. The zipper's catching. That's what I meant by better look. Oh, disappointed. No, I said, lying so badly even the dead basil could have judged me. Autumn bit her lip to hide a smile and moved in front of me, turning her back. The zipper sat between her shoulder blades, stuck halfway up. There was a tiny fold of fabric caught in the teeth. Nothing scandalous. Nothing that should have made my pulse behave like I'd sprinted up 6 flights of stairs. But standing that close to her, close enough to see the faint freckles on the back of her neck, close enough to hear her breath catch when my fingers brushed the zipper, I realized the problem wasn't the dress. The problem was that I wanted the right to be careful with her. Not as a roommate doing a favor. As a man who had been pretending for months that the warmest part of his day wasn't hearing her key turn in the lock. Hold still, I said. I am. You're swaying. I am breathing. Stop doing it dramatically. She laughed under her breath, and the sound moved through me like trouble. I freed the fabric gently and pulled the zipper up the rest of the way. My knuckles grazed her skin once, barely, but she went quiet. So did I. For a long second, neither of us moved. Then Autumn looked back over her shoulder. The smirk was gone. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. Her eyes searched mine like she was deciding whether to say something dangerous. The apartment suddenly seemed to hold its breath. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She looked at the screen, and whatever softness had been there drained from her face. I saw the name before she turned it over. Vanessa Cole, her boss. Autumn didn't answer. She just stared at the phone like it had insulted her. What happened? I asked. She swallowed, then gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Tiny problem. With the gala? With my entire professional reputation, possibly. She picked up the phone, read the message again, then let out a laugh that sounded one step from panic. Vanessa just told everyone I'm bringing my boyfriend tonight. I waited. Autumn looked at me. And there it was again, that spark, that challenge, that impossible little dare. I don't have a boyfriend, she said. But I do have a roommate who apparently thinks I look really good in this dress. My heart kicked once, hard. Then she tilted her head and asked, Miles, how busy are you tonight? There are questions a man should answer carefully. Do you like my haircut? Were you listening? How busy are you tonight? Especially when the woman asking is standing in your kitchen looking like every bad decision you've ever wanted to make, and the word boyfriend is still hanging between you like a lit match. I looked at my laptop on the table. I had a client mock-up due by midnight, 2 unanswered emails, and one very stubborn sense of self-preservation. Then I looked at Autumn. I'm suddenly extremely available, I said. Her smile flickered, relief first, then mischief. That was fast. I'm a decisive man. You once spent 20 minutes choosing salsa. That was a complex dinner situation. She laughed and pressed her phone to her chest. You don't have to say yes. I panicked for half a second, but I can fix it. I'll tell Vanessa there was a misunderstanding. Was there? Autumn blinked. Was there what? A misunderstanding. Her lips parted. I should have let the joke sit there and die like a respectable person. Instead, I stepped closer, just enough that she had to tilt her chin to keep looking at me. If I go, I said, what exactly am I pretending? Her cheeks colored, faint but visible. Autumn Reed blushed. I filed that away as evidence of a merciful universe. You'd be pretending to be my boyfriend, she said slower now. For work. Very professional, handshakes, smiling, maybe 1 or 2 deeply convincing glances. Deeply convincing? You seem capable. I have range. Do you? I once convinced our landlord the shower drain was haunted. It was full of your hair. Exactly, terrifying. She rolled her eyes, but her smile stayed. Then she looked down at my clothes. Black t-shirt, joggers, socks with tiny planets on them. Do you own a suit? I own parts of a suit. That sounds ominous. The jacket and pants are from the same decade. Miles. I have a navy suit, I admitted. It fits. Good. She pointed toward my room. Change, we leave in 40 minutes. Yes, ma'am. I was halfway down the hall when she called after me. And Miles, I turned. The teasing had softened again. She stood there with one hand curled around her phone, looking less like a woman who had set a trap and more like one hoping I wouldn't regret stepping into it. Thank you, she said. Really. That was the moment I knew tonight would be a problem. Because I didn't want her gratitude. I wanted her hand. I wanted her to look at me at the gala and not have to pretend. I changed too fast and still somehow took forever. The navy suit did fit, thank God, though the tie took 3 attempts and one quiet curse before I got it right. When I stepped into the living room, Autumn was by the mirror near the door trying to fasten one earring. She looked up and stared. Not politely, not briefly. Stared. My confidence, which had been standing on a folding chair at best, nearly fell off. What? I asked. She turned back to the mirror too quickly. Nothing. Autumn. I'm just assessing the quality of the fake boyfriend material. And? She slid the earring into place. Annoyingly high. I grinned before I could stop myself. She picked up her clutch, then paused. Your tie is crooked. I glanced down. It's fashion. It's a cry for help. She came close and reached for it. Every instinct in my body went still. Her fingers were gentle at my collar, warm through the fabric when her knuckles brushed my throat. I had fixed things for Autumn before, shelves, jar lids, the streaming app when it stopped working like technology had personally betrayed her, but she had never fixed me. Not like this. Her concentration was absolute. Tiny line between her brows, lower lip caught between her teeth. There, she murmured, smoothing the tie flat against my chest. Her hand stayed there a second too long. My heart betrayed me under her palm. Her eyes lifted. Are you nervous? She asked. Yes. About tonight? No. Her hand slowly curled against my lapel. The apartment went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic below. Oh, she whispered. I could have walked it back, made a joke, saved us. But she didn't step away, so I said, if you want me to pretend, I can. I'll be charming, I'll remember your boss's name, and I won't tell anyone you cried during that dog food commercial. I had allergies. You said he waited for her, Miles. It was emotionally manipulative advertising. But, I continued, if I hold your hand tonight, Autumn, I'm not sure all of me is going to be pretending. Her fingers tightened on my jacket. Her eyes searched my face the same way they had in the kitchen, but this time there was no phone buzzing, no interruption, no escape disguised as an errand. You say things like that, she said quietly, and then you make coffee like we're just roommates. My chest ached. I didn't know if you wanted me to be anything else. She gave a tiny, disbelieving laugh. You really don't notice, do you? Notice what? That I steal your hoodies because they smell like you. Her face flushed deeper, but she kept going, brave and direct because she was Autumn. That I ask you to taste every sauce I make even when it's fine. That I watch terrible movies with you even though your commentary is basically a hostage situation. My commentary is insightful. It is constant. Both can be true. She smiled, but her eyes were bright. I notice when you come home. I notice when you don't. I notice when you're tired and pretending not to be. So, no, Miles, if you hold my hand tonight, I don't think I'll be pretending either. For one stunned second, I couldn't speak. Then a car honked outside, rude and human, and we both remembered we had bodies and somewhere to be. Autumn inhaled shakily and stepped back first, but only far enough to hold out her hand. Come on, fake boyfriend, she said. Let's go make poor choices in public. I took her hand. Her fingers slid between mine like they'd been meaning to do it for months. The ride to the hotel was 14 minutes. I know because I spent every one of them aware of her knee brushing mine in the back of the car, her hand still in my hand, her thumb occasionally moving over my knuckles like she was testing whether I was real. The hotel was all glass and gold light, with valet attendants, tall floral arrangements, and people who looked like they owned multiple opinions about wine. At the entrance, Autumn stopped. Her grip tightened. "Hey," I said, "look at me." She did. The confidence she wore so easily at home had slipped. Under the chandeliers, surrounded by polished strangers, she looked suddenly young and unsure. "What if they know," she whispered, "that I'm hopelessly into you?" Her eyes widened. I leaned closer. "Autumn, that's the believable part." A laugh escaped her, small but real. "Besides," I said, "you belong here." She studied me for one heartbeat. Then she lifted our joined hands and kissed my knuckles. It was light. Barely anything. It absolutely ruined me. "Okay," she said. "Let's be convincing." We walked inside together. For the first 20 minutes, I played my part so well, I almost forgot it was a part. I met Vanessa Cole, who had sharp glasses and sharper cheekbones. I shook hands with two hotel investors and a chef who spoke about foam with alarming seriousness. Autumn introduced me as my boyfriend Miles, and every time she said it, my brain lit up like a switchboard. She leaned into me when she laughed. I rested my hand at the small of her back. Neither of us corrected the other. At one point, while Vanessa was pulled away by a donor with a bow tie and a tragic laugh, Autumn turned to me near a tower of champagne glasses. "You're good at this," she said, "at being handsome decoration, at making me feel less alone." The answer knocked the banter right out of me. I touched her waist just lightly. "You're not alone tonight." Her gaze dipped to my mouth. Mine did the same. For a second, the party blurred around us. Music, crystal, voices, all of it fading behind the fact that Autumn was close enough to kiss. Then someone behind her said, "Autumn?" She froze. I watched her expression change before she turned. Surprise, then wariness, then something guarded. A tall man in a gray suit stood a few feet away, staring at our joined hands. Autumn's fingers tightened around mine. "Gavin," she said, "I didn't know you'd be here." He smiled like he owned the room, and maybe still thought he owned some part of her. "Neither did I," he said. "And who's this?" Autumn looked at me. This time, she didn't hesitate. "My boyfriend," she said, her voice steady. Then she stepped closer to me, not hiding behind me, choosing me. "Miles," she added. "This is Gavin, my ex." Gavin's smile did not reach his eyes. Mine probably didn't either. He had the polished look of a man who got his shirts pressed by someone who used words like garment care. Expensive watch. Perfect hair. The kind of confidence that came from assuming every conversation would eventually arrange itself around him. "Boyfriend," he repeated, looking at Autumn like the word belonged to the wrong language. "That's new." Autumn's hand was still in mine. I could feel the tension in her fingers, but her voice stayed calm. "Not that new." That hit me somewhere dangerous. I knew it was for the act. Probably, mostly. Gavin gave me a quick once-over. "Miles, was it?" And that's right. "And what do you do, Miles?" There it was. The first little blade. "I design websites," I said. "Freelance?" "Sometimes." He nodded, smiling. "Brave. Unstable, but brave." Autumn's chin lifted. "He's very good." I looked at her. She didn't look away from Gavin, but her thumb moved once across my knuckles. A quiet message. "I've got you." Something warm and reckless opened in my chest. Gavin chuckled. "Still defending people before they ask, Autumn? Still mistaking cruelty for charm, Gavin?" His smile thinned. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because there she was. My Autumn. Barefoot in our kitchen or dressed like midnight under chandeliers. She was still the woman who would look a man directly in the eye and hand him his own teeth in a gift bag. Gavin shifted his attention back to me. So, how did you two meet? We live together, Autumn said. His eyebrows lifted. Convenient. Her hand tightened. I stepped closer, not in front of her, not shielding her, just beside her. Chosen position, equal ground. Very, I said. I get to see her steal my hoodies in real time. Autumn's mouth twitched. Gavin glanced between us. Roommates, then. Among other things, Autumn said. My brain shorted out briefly. Gavin noticed. His expression sharpened, as if he had found a loose thread. Well, he said, lifting his glass. Good for you. I always wondered if you'd settle for simple after me. Autumn went still. The urge to say something ugly rose fast, but before I could, Autumn turned toward me completely. She slipped her free hand up my chest, her palm warm over my tie, exactly where she'd felt my heartbeat earlier. Then she smiled. Not at Gavin. At me. Simple? She murmured. No. Her eyes held mine, bright and deliberate. Steady? She said. Kind. Funny when he isn't trying too hard. Infuriatingly observant. The first person I want to tell when something good happens. The room faded. Gavin faded. Everything faded except her hand on my chest and the way she was looking at me like she'd forgotten the performance had an audience. And, she added softer, he makes coffee the way I like it. I swallowed. That last one is obviously my best quality. Obviously. Gavin cleared his throat. Autumn blinked, like she'd remembered him. Anyway, enjoy the gala. Then she turned and walked away with me, her hand still tucked in mine. We made it 20 feet before she exhaled hard. Was that okay? She asked. I stared at her. Was what okay? That, I might have oversold it. Autumn. What? If that was overselling, I may need to sit down. Her cheeks pinked. Don't make it weird. It's already weird. We crossed weird back at, among other things. Oh, God. She covered her face with one hand. I said that out loud. You did. I panicked. You flirted. I multitask. I laughed and she lowered her hand, smiling despite herself. But underneath it, I could still see the little tremor Gavin had left behind. Come with me, I said. Where? Somewhere with less decorative shrubbery and fewer men named Gavin. That got me a real laugh. I led her through a side door near the ballroom, out onto a balcony strung with tiny white lights. The city spread below us, all traffic and glitter. The night air was cool enough that Autumn shivered before pretending she hadn't. I took off my jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up at me. Very boyfriend of you. I'm committed to the role. Are you? There was no teasing in it now. I leaned against the stone railing beside her. Autumn, can I ask you something? She nodded. Did he make you feel small? Her gaze dropped to the lights below. For a few seconds, she didn't answer. Then she said, not at first. I waited. He was impressive, she continued, older, confident. Everyone listened when he talked, and when he chose me, it felt like proof that I was, I don't know, worth noticing. Her voice was steady, but her fingers had curled into the sleeves of my jacket. Then it became this thing where I was always almost enough, almost dressed right, almost ambitious enough, almost interesting enough if I stopped talking so much. She gave a small laugh without humor, which is hilarious because I talk more when I'm nervous. I like when you talk. She glanced at me. I like your talking, I said. Your terrible song lyrics. Your strong opinions about throw pillows. The way you narrate cooking shows like sports commentary. Her smile trembled. I don't think you're almost anything, I said. I think you're the whole room. Autumn looked away fast, but not before I saw her eyes shine. Miles, she whispered. Too much? No. She shook her head. That's the problem. I turned toward her fully. What is? You keep saying exactly what I needed someone to say. She looked back at me. And it makes me want things I told myself not to want. My breath caught. Like what? She stepped closer. The balcony was quiet except for distant traffic and muffled music from inside. Her hand slid under the open edges of my jacket, finding my waist. Not accidental, not pretend. Like you, she said. Every smart, cautious part of me tried to speak up. Roommate, lease. If this went wrong, there would be no neutral corners. But Autumn was looking at me like the risk was already worth naming, and I was so tired of being hard to reach. So I reached back. I cupped her face with one hand, giving her every chance to move away. She didn't. She rose onto her toes. The first kiss was soft, careful. A question answered in the space between heartbeats. Then Autumn made a tiny sound against my mouth and gripped my shirt. And careful didn't stand a chance. I kissed her like I'd been practicing restraint for 9 months and had finally forgotten why. Her lips were warm, her fingers restless at my waist, and when I slid my arm around her back, she leaned into me with a trust that nearly undid me. It wasn't a gala kiss. It wasn't a fake boyfriend kiss. It was Autumn under the string lights wearing my jacket, and me choosing her with both hands. When we broke apart, she stayed close, forehead nearly touching mine. Well, she said breathlessly, that should convince the balcony. I laughed, shaky. Very important demographic. Her thumb brushed my jaw. Was that pretending? No. Good. Her smile softened. Because I'd be offended if you were that talented for professional reasons. I have range, I said again. She kissed me once more, quick and sweet, like punctuation. Then she rested her head against my chest. I held her there, my chin near her hair, feeling the strange, impossible peace of wanting someone and not having to hide it for one perfect minute. Eventually, Autumn sighed. We should go back in before Vanessa sends a search party. Let her. I'm making a strong case for staying here forever. I'd get cold. I'll provide jackets. Plural? I'll steal yours back from you and return them romantically. She laughed against my shirt, then leaned back. Her lipstick was slightly blurred. Mine probably was too. She reached up and wiped the corner of my mouth with her thumb. The gesture was so intimate it felt louder than the kiss. There, she said softly. I caught her hand before she could lower it and kissed her palm. Her expression changed. Open, startled, tender. Miles, she said, like my name had become something else. The balcony door opened behind us. We separated, but not completely. My hand found hers again. Vanessa Cole stood in the doorway, eyes moving from Autumn's flushed face to my jacket on her shoulders. There you are, Vanessa said. I need you both inside. Autumn straightened. Is something wrong? No, quite the opposite. Vanessa's smile was sharp but pleased. The board chair loved you two. He wants to meet the charming boyfriend properly. Autumn looked at me, panic and amusement warring in her eyes. I squeezed her hand. She squeezed back. And this time, when she smiled at me, there was no pretending at all. The charming boyfriend turned out to be a silver-haired man named Malcolm Price, who had the posture of a retired general and the handshake of someone testing for weakness. Autumn introduced me with a smile that looked confident to everyone else. I knew better. Her fingers were tucked into the bend of my elbow, and every few seconds her thumb tapped once against my sleeve. A nervous little rhythm. I covered her hand with mine. She stilled, then leaned into my side. Malcolm noticed. Of course he did. Men like Malcolm noticed everything and pretended it was casual. So, he said, you're the young man Autumn's been hiding. Autumn made a small choking sound. I smiled. I like to think of myself as a well-kept secret. Vanessa laughed too loudly. Malcolm's eyes sharpened with amusement. And what do you think of our Autumn? Our Autumn. I felt her tense. I could have given him the safe answer, talented, professional, hardworking, all true, none enough. I think, I said, turning slightly toward her, she sees details other people miss. She knows when someone needs help before they ask. She can make a room feel warmer just by walking into it. I paused. And she works harder than anyone realizes, mostly because she makes it look easy. Autumn looked up at me. Her expression was impossible to read for half a second, and then it wasn't. It was soft, unprotected. The kind of look that made a man forget he was standing under a chandelier in front of her boss and a board chair. Malcolm hummed. That's quite an endorsement. She earned it, I said. Autumn's hand tightened on my arm. Vanessa, who had been observing us with the intensity of a hawk in designer glasses, suddenly smiled. Autumn coordinated most of tonight's donor experience herself. I assisted, Autumn said quickly. You led, Vanessa corrected. That stunned her enough that she went quiet. Malcolm nodded once. It shows. For the next 10 minutes, Autumn talked about linen choices, guest flow, donor seating, contingency plans for the rain that never came. Her voice steadied as she spoke. Her shoulders lowered. Her hands moved when she got excited, painting the air with ideas. I had seen her like that at our kitchen table, surrounded by sticky notes and cold coffee, muttering about centerpieces like they were a war strategy. But watching other people see her? That did something to me. Pride, maybe. No, more than that. I wanted to be the man beside her when she realized she was as brilliant as I already knew she was. When Malcolm was finally pulled away, Autumn let out a breath and turned to me. Was I talking too much? No. You hesitated. I was deciding whether to say no or absolutely not. She narrowed her eyes. You're getting smooth. I kissed you on a balcony. I'm evolving. Her blush was instant and beautiful. Keep your voice down, she hissed, glancing around. What, about the balcony where you kissed me back with considerable enthusiasm? Miles. There were witnesses, several potted plants. She pressed her lips together, fighting a smile. You are impossible. You like impossible. Her eyes flicked to my mouth. Apparently. That single word nearly ruined my ability to stand upright. A slow song began, spilling from the ballroom speakers, something old and romantic enough to make the whole room dim around the edges. Autumn looked toward the dance floor, then away. I held out my hand. She stared at it. You dance? Parts of me understand the concept. That is not reassuring. I'll keep you safe from rhythm. Her laugh came out warm, unguarded. Fine, one dance. But if you step on my foot, I'm telling everyone we're cousins. Romantic. I'm a problem solver. She placed her hand in mine. On the dance floor, I pulled her in carefully, my hand finding her waist. Her hand settled on my shoulder, and for one strange second we both got shy about touching each other, as if we hadn't been kissing 20 minutes ago. Then she moved closer, close enough that her dress brushed my legs, close enough that my palm warmed against her back. Hi, she said softly. I smiled. Hi. We swayed more than danced. Neither of us cared. Autumn's gaze dropped to my tie. I meant what I said earlier. About my commentary being a hostage situation? Unfortunately, yes, but not that. Her fingers played lightly with my lapel. About noticing you. My chest tightened. I noticed that you turn the hallway light on when I work late, she said. And that you leave the last dumpling even though you think I don't see. And that when I get overwhelmed, you don't ask a million questions, you just sit near me until I can breathe again. I swallowed. I never knew if that helped. It helped. Her voice was barely above the music. You help. The room blurred a little. I had spent so long thinking love had to arrive loudly, with certainty and speeches and obvious signs. But maybe sometimes it arrived as shared takeout, crooked ties, a hallway light left on. Maybe sometimes it lived across the hall for 9 months before either person was brave enough to open the door. Autumn looked up at me. What are you thinking? That I don't want tonight to end at the apartment door. Her breath caught. I don't mean... I stopped, trying not to trip over my own sincerity. I mean, I don't want us to go home and pretend this was just champagne and fake dating and adrenaline. Her hand slid from my shoulder to the back of my neck. Miles, she said, I wore this dress hoping you'd look. I forgot the dance. She smiled, nervous but honest. Not just for the gala, for you. I stood in that hallway for 5 full minutes calling myself ridiculous. And then I walked into the kitchen because I wanted you to see me. You asked if I wanted a better look. I panicked and became bold. You should panic more often. Her laugh trembled. I don't want to pretend either. So I kissed her. Not on the balcony, not hidden away, right there on the edge of the dance floor. Gentle and brief and completely clear. Her fingers tightened at my neck, and when I pulled back, she followed for half a second like she hadn't given me permission to stop. Around us, no one gasped. The ceiling didn't collapse. The world simply continued, rudely unaware that mine had changed shape. Autumn touched her forehead to my chin. That was a relationship step. Was it? Public kissing? Definitely at least step 4. What were steps 1 through 3? Staring, zipper, balcony? I feel our process is unconventional. I feel our process is efficient. I laughed into her hair and held her closer. For the rest of the song, she stayed in my arms. No act, no performance. Just us. Later, after dessert plates appeared and donors drifted toward coffee, Autumn and I found a quiet corner near a wall of windows. She had reclaimed my jacket, wearing it over her dress like it belonged there. Vanessa passed by and gave Autumn a small nod that made her eyes go wide. Did you see that? She whispered. I did. That was approval from Vanessa. That's like seeing a comet. You earned the comet. Autumn beamed, then seemed to catch herself being happy and turned shy. Tonight went better than I expected. I'm choosing to take full credit. You may take partial credit. How generous. She leaned against my side. You were perfect. I looked down at her. Dangerous word. Accurate word. Before I could answer, Gavin appeared again at the edge of our corner, holding a glass he didn't seem to be drinking. His eyes landed on my jacket around Autumn's shoulders, then on her hand resting against mine. There you are, he said. Autumn, can we talk? Her smile faded. I waited for her cue. Autumn straightened, but she didn't let go of my hand. If it's about work, you can email me. It's personal. Then no. Something like surprise crossed his face. You don't even want to hear what I have to say? She was quiet for one breath. Then she looked at me, not asking me to rescue her, letting me witness her choose. I spent a long time hearing you, she said, turning back to him. Tonight I'd rather dance with my boyfriend. The word landed differently now, not borrowed, not fake. Mine. Gavin's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. Autumn smiled, small and certain. Maybe, but it's mine. Then she tugged my hand. I followed her back toward the music, heart pounding harder than it had all night. Halfway there, she stopped, turned, and kissed me again. Quick, fierce, almost laughing against my mouth. What was that for? I asked. For not speaking for me. I wanted to. I know. Her eyes softened. Thank you for choosing not to. I brushed my thumb over her cheek. I choose you, Autumn. Not just when it's easy. Her smile faltered with feeling. The music shifted into something slower. She stepped into my arms like she belonged there. And just before her head came to rest against my chest, she whispered, Then come home with me as my real boyfriend. My heart stopped, then started again, entirely hers. We left the gala before midnight, not because anything went wrong, but because everything had gone too right. Autumn held my hand all the way through the lobby. In the car, she sat close enough that her shoulder pressed into mine, my jacket still around her, her thumb tracing slow circles over my palm. Neither of us said much. There are silences that feel empty. This one felt full of all the things waiting for us at home. When we reached our apartment, Autumn unlocked the door, stepped inside, then stopped so suddenly I nearly walked into her. What? I asked. She looked around our living room, the crooked lamp, the blanket half fallen off the couch, my abandoned, lo-mein container still on the counter like evidence of the man I had been before the dress. Then she turned to me. This is weird, she said. My stomach dropped. Bad weird? No. She smiled, nervous and beautiful. Just, this morning, this was our apartment. And now? Her gaze softened. Now I walked in with my boyfriend. The word hit me with the same force as it had on the dance floor. I set her clutch on the table. Say it again. Her smile widened. Boyfriend. Again. Miles. I like the other one. She laughed and I caught her by the waist, pulling her close. She came willingly, hands sliding up my chest. My boyfriend, she whispered. I kissed her before she could make me ask a fourth time. It was different from the balcony, different from the dance floor. This kiss had no audience, no deadline, no borrowed excuse. It was slow and certain, her back against the front door, my hands careful at her waist, her fingers in my hair like she had been waiting to do that for months. When we broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. We should talk, she said. I groaned softly. That sentence has ruined men across generations. I mean it. I know. She took my hand and led me to the couch. We sat facing each other, knees touching, the city light slipping through the blinds. Autumn looked down at our joined hands. I don't want to mess this up. Neither do I. We live together. I noticed. If this goes badly, it won't. Her eyes lifted. I exhaled. Okay, that was too confident. I don't know that, but I know I'm not treating this like a convenient accident. Something in her face eased. I want to date you, I said. Properly. Not just because you're here. Not because it's easy. You're not easy for me, Autumn. You're terrifying. She blinked, then laughed. Romantic? You are. I squeezed her hand. You make me want to be honest before I'm ready. You make me want to try harder. You make me want to be the kind of man who doesn't hide behind coffee and chore charts. Her smile faded into tenderness. I don't need perfect, she said. I just need real. That I can do. And if we fight, you can't retreat into your room and communicate only through dishwasher loading. That was one time. That was 3 days. The mugs were sending a message. Miles, I smiled. No retreating, I promise. She nodded, then took a breath. And I promise not to pretend I'm fine when I'm spiraling. You do spiral with flair. I'm gifted. You are. The joke softened between us into something quiet. Autumn leaned forward and kissed me once, gentle as a signature. So, she said, first official date? We just went to a gala. That was fake. I kissed you in public. That was step 4, keep up. I laughed. Fine, tomorrow, dinner. Somewhere with menus that don't have QR codes. Ambitious. And after that, I'll walk you home like a gentleman. To our own apartment? I'll circle the block for realism. She leaned into me, laughing, and I wrapped my arms around her. For a while, we just sat there on our old couch in our half-messy living room, holding each other like we were learning a new version of home. Before bed, she paused in the hallway between our rooms. The same hallway where she had stood in that navy dress, gathering courage. She glanced at my door, then hers. We don't have to rush, she said softly. I know. I want this to be steady. I stepped closer and kissed her forehead. Then steady it is. Her eyes closed for a second. When she opened them, she smiled. Good night, boyfriend. Good night, roommate. She pointed at me. Temporary title. I grinned. Noted. The next morning, I made her coffee. 1 sugar, too much cream, no judgment. She came into the kitchen wearing my hoodie over pajama shorts, hair wild, face sleepy, and stopped when she saw the mug waiting. You're flirting, she said. I'm making coffee. You wrote a heart in the foam. It's abstract. It has an arrow. I'm a designer. She smiled into the mug, and I thought, absurdly, that I could get used to making someone happy in small ways. So we dated. Really dated. I took her to the tiny Italian place she loved but always claimed was too much for a random Tuesday. She took me to a pottery class where I made a bowl so ugly she named it Kevin and gave it a shelf. We learned how to be together on purpose instead of by accident. It wasn't flawless. We had awkward moments. We had rules. We had one serious argument about whether space meant 20 minutes or an entire evening. And afterward, I knocked on her door with 2 mugs of tea and said, I'm here and I'm not hiding. She cried a little. I panicked a lot. Then she pulled me inside and kissed me until both our teas went cold. Vanessa promoted her 3 months after the gala. Autumn came home with the news, dropped her bag, and launched herself at me so hard I stumbled into the wall. I did it, she whispered into my neck. You did. You knew. I knew. She leaned back, eyes shining. Say the whole room thing again. I smiled and brushed her hair from her face. You're the whole room. She kissed me like that was a vow. 6 months later, we signed a new lease. Together. Not as roommates who happened to be falling in love, but as two people choosing the same front door. Autumn still stole my hoodies. I still left her the last dumpling. The chore chart survived, though she added a new category labeled romantic maintenance, which mostly meant flowers, forehead kisses, and not using her good scissors on packaging. And the navy dress? It stayed in the back of her closet until one Friday evening when I came home to find her standing in the kitchen wearing it again. Barefoot, smirking. Be honest, she said. I set down my keys. This time, I didn't look away. I didn't hide behind the refrigerator or make a joke too quickly. I walked straight to her, took her hand, and spun her once under the warm kitchen light. You look, I said, pulling her close, now like the woman I'm in love with. Her smirk disappeared. In its place came that soft, unguarded smile I had learned to treasure. Good answer, she whispered. Then she kissed me in the kitchen where it had all started. The low man long gone. The dead basil replaced by a thriving plant she insisted was our child. And the apartment no longer divided into my room and hers. Just ours. So tell me, what would you have done if your roommate walked into the kitchen in a new dress, caught you staring too long, and asked if you wanted a better look? Have you ever had a friendship or roommate situation turn into something more? Tell your story in the comments. And for those who'd like to be a little closer to us, we've opened memberships, where you'll get shorter, exclusive stories every week with no ads. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.